we need to realize these times, knowing God is with us, knowing He's working in our lives. We talked about a close relationship begins at birth, just as a child, when a child's born, and they've been in the mother's womb for well, up to 9 months, right? Sometimes a little longer, but when they're born, they have that personal time, that contact with that, when they spend time and they're with mom. And we think about that personal moment when we come to know the Lord as our personal Savior. He works in our life and He reveals Himself to us, and we look to Him. We talked about a close relationship is structured and not systematic. When we think about relationships, our relationship with God is something that ought to be has structure to it, but it's not a checklist. It's not a to-do list. I got to have my 5 minutes with God today. That's not the way we ought to look at it. And we might have 5 minutes a day we set aside, but it's a good time. It's time that we focus and we are able to be with Him. And it's not an amount of time; it's quantity of time or quality of time. Anybody have any thoughts or anything to share, or anything, or any comments? Well, all right, keep going. We talked about a close relationship is developed through time. And just as any relationship, a couple, when they get together and before they're husband and wife, they probably spend a lot of time together, don't they? Unless, of course, maybe, Hopkins, you tell us about you kind of met each other and you met and you were right for each other and you were born and you were married in a short amount of time, but you still had quality time together, didn't you? But it develops through time. Relationships develop through time. And we ought to have time and spend time with our Lord, talking to Him. Time with God requires communication. If you're having a relationship with someone, that requires communication. Talking about things, sharing thoughts, sharing dreams maybe, who knows what it is, but it requires a communication. Hey, maybe this bothers me, this doesn't bother me, whatever it is, but it requires communication. Time with God requires a consistency, we've covered that. And with consistency comes quantity of time, a considerable amount. And then a continuity, there has to be a connection. All right, and then we'll kind of take a moment, we'll go through our talk, I'll read through the conclusion, and then we can go to our questions, because you guys are all chomping at the bit, you all got your answers all written out, you all want me to go, each one of you, to read your answer, correct? Okay, maybe not. Well, it's a good thing there's a lot of these answers, and a lot of the questions are just personal answers and personal questions, so we're not going to have a lot of those, unless you want to share, you can. But okay, so through life, we'll be overwhelmed with circumstances. There are going to be things that come into our lives that are beyond our control and beyond our understanding. And these things will cause us to either freeze in time, maybe they'll cause us to crawl in a ball and stick our head in the sand. Well, we hope not. We're not going to do that. But they ought to cause us to flee to God. In these kind of times, and we have that personal relationship with God, and things come up in our lives that we don't understand, or circumstances that are beyond our control. We ought to flee to God. And why ought we do that? Well, let's read Isaiah 40, 29 through 31. What does Isaiah 40, 29 through 31 say? Chris, are you able to? You don't have the text on your lap today, or Jace. So hey, if we can ask you to get into Isaiah chapter 40, verse 29 through 31, please.
He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might He increases strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fail. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with their wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint.
All right, so let's think about this a little bit. As we go through this journey of life, is there anyone here that's not going to be faint sometime in their life? Is there anyone here that's not going to be overwhelmed? Or is there anybody here that's going to, is there anybody, it's inevitable, right? We all have that weakness. We all wear out. We all can get tired. But we, in times of spiritual battles and times of emotional struggles that are bigger than we are, we don't have to go it alone. We don't have to do it on our own. We can. Where are you going to turn? Where can we turn? Where ought we turn? Are we gonna hide? Are we gonna like hope it goes away? You ever do that? Just kind of hope the problem goes away. How's that work for you? Anybody ever done that? I have. It's gonna be better tomorrow. It's never better tomorrow, right? You gotta deal with it, right? You gotta deal with it. But we can take it to God. We can turn to God. We talked about refuge. Who's your refuge? You know, there's lots of scriptures in the Bible that talk about God as being our refuge. We ought to run to God. We ought to turn to God. And there's a promise in this verse. It has the thought of wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. We think about waiting upon Him. He'll renew your strength. Wait means to literally bind up together by twisting. Anybody ever see a grapevine, how it grows around something? Anybody ever try to deal with grapes and they kind of grow through and around and you try to pull them things down? I got property, and Dan, you and Matthew were at my property, right? And I had these wild grapes growing all through the trees, and what do? They just go straight up it, right? And you just grab hold of it and pull it down, right? Works real easy, don't it? Not so much. Those grapevines, they go around and they twist and they get all tangled up, and you try to take it apart. It takes a lot of effort. But we think about twisting together. We think about as we grow closer to God, it's not, and we think about it's more passive than patience. We got to have patience too. But those that wait upon the Lord, they're active. They draw close. They bind and twist themselves. They twist God into their lives, and that gives us that strength. That gives us that ability to get through these times of difficulty and to not grow not to grow faint and weary. We ought to spend time privately and personally with Him as much as we can. And as we do, He'll renew our strength and bring us forward as eagle's wings, as it says here in our verse. Okay, we have here the thought that we've seen that personal intimacy with God involves being born into His family. It's structured and not systematic. And we think about our relationship, how it develops through time. And when it develops through time, it's unrushed, unstructured, and uninterrupted. We have a desire to have good quality time with Him. So we're going to look as we go through. We're going to wrap up this lesson, and we're going to go through 5 more essential qualities that are needed to increase our relationship with God. Before we do that, we're going to come to our questions. And let me see here. Miss Molly, are you able to read the first question? I know you have the young one with you, but...
What page number is it?
Number 1. Question number 1 in your book. I don't know what.
48.
Page 48 for you guys. Man.
Describe the most difficult moment of your life.
Aha. So as your describe the most difficult moment of your life. Has anybody ever had a difficult moment in their life? How about a most difficult moment? Does anybody want to share it? That's a personal thing. If you want to share it, great. If you don't, well, you guys think about it. Maybe you had a difficult moment in your life. Did you handle it right? What did you do? Did you handle it right? Did you go to the Lord? What, that's like it. Just throwing some questions out there. All right? And question number 2. I didn't see a bunch of hands shoot up, so we're just going to go to question number 2. What's question number 2?
Describe where you went for help and how you dealt with that difficult situation.
Of course, we all know what the answer is supposed to be, right? We all know what we should have done, but we probably didn't always do that, did we? So does anybody have a situation they want to share? Again, it's a personal question. If you want to share, you can. Sister Jen.
I'm not going to share details, but I have something in my mind. And for number 2, I don't feel like I handled it exactly right. Right. I tended to go to other people more than just straight to the Lord. And that's something I'm trying to really change, and just go to the Lord. Not even, because it gets confusing when you go to other people.
Right.
So, sometimes there's time for counsel with other people, but in this particular instance, I think I may have confused things by doing that.
Yep. And we are to seek wise counsel. That's scriptural, but go to the source, you know, go right to God, pray about it. And sometimes, you know, you start getting other people's opinions. What I found is, sometimes if you get too many opinions, like you said, it kind of gets things kind of murky, it kind of gets things confusing. And there's one source, you know, look to the Word, look to God's Word. Listen to pray about it, you know, talk about it. Open your book, open your Bible, you know, maybe the Lord, you know, guide you right to a passage of Scripture that might give you help in that time. And when you have a situation a difficult situation, there's probably not one of us here that would say we had a difficult situation and we handled them all right. Of course, us guys, I've said this 1,000 times, what are guys' tendencies?
Fix it.
Fix it. And sometimes we fix it, but we don't stop. We're not still. We don't pray about it. We don't, you know, we just dive into it. We want to fix it. I've done that many a time. I had a problem situation, and I'm in my own mind. I have a way to fix it, but it wasn't necessarily the way God wanted me to fix it. It wasn't what God wanted. So those are all good questions and good things to do. So yes. All right. Now, question number 3. I guess we'll come back up front. Sister Jen, read that for us, please.
Write out Revelation 3:20 and explain how it personally applies to you today.
Of course, and that's just our text verse that we've been using for this lesson. And again, it's behold, I stand at the door and knock, and if any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come unto him, and I will sup with him, and he with me. And again, we see some actions. We see the Lord's always available. He's there, and you know, if someone comes to your door and knocks, I don't know, what's a good example? What is that? Publishers Clearinghouse. There you go. They come to your door and they knock on your door, and you don't go answer the door, and you might not be the winner, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of off the cuff. I didn't think of that till now. But the bottom line is, you know, the Lord's at the door, and we need to answer. If we don't answer, you know, He's not going to commune with us. We're not going to be able to have that relationship. We won't be able to sup with Him. We won't be able to have that personal time that we need, that we so need with our God. Question number 4.
List 3 things you could do this week to grow and improve your relationship with God. Oh, that's 5.
Oh, that's 5.
Write a paragraph summarizing the condition of your relationship with God right now.
All right. Again, a lot of these were personal questions this week, so hopefully y'all read them. Hopefully you're all thinking about them. Hopefully, you know, it's not just, you know, checklist, we're done. No, these are good things to think about. You know, summarizing conditions. What is your relationship right now with God? And we had I'm just going to be quiet. We're going to go ahead. We're going to go number 5. Matt, would you like to read number 5?
List 3 things you could do this week to grow and improve your relationship with God.
Now, is there anybody here that has a perfect relationship with God right now, that they have no room for improvement? Again, sadly, you know, I have areas for improvement. I have areas that I know I can do better in my life. And you know, these are again good things to think about. Not only think about, but thinking about things requires action too. And if there's things in your life you can do to better have a better relationship and better time with God, by all means. What do you got to lose, right? What do you got to lose? We think about having time with your best friend. You know, who here doesn't want to spend time with their best friend? We think about being able to spend time with God as your best friend. Now, a lot of times too, you think about it. Just because you think of God, is He just going to give you everything and anything you want? No. Sometimes, you know, your best friend's going to tell you the truth and say, no, you ought not be doing that. Your best friend's going to be honest with you. Your best friend's not going to just let you do what you want and get away with it. It's going to correct you and then put you, maybe put you in your place when you're wrong. You know, so we need to think about these things. All right, question number 6. Jerry, would you read that for us, please?
Yeah. List the 4 ways that time with God should play out in your life.
All right, well, we got open book on that one. You can go back and look through. We've been talking about it. It's A, B, C, and D. Anybody got their book? They want to read them off? They can. First one was communication.
Consistency, quantity, and continuity.
Yeah, there's, those are the 4 ways that we talked about, that time with God should be played out in our life. Definitely need to communicate, we need consistency, we need quality time, and we need to be connected. All right, question number 7, Sister Shell.
List the things that are preventing you from spending more time with God.
All right. And, we think about things, and we think about, are we spending time with doing other things and neglecting our time with God? If we do that, well, we could call that an idol, couldn't we? Yeah. So we ought to definitely desire to spend time as much time as we can with God. But if there's something that's preventing you, we ought to examine that, think about it, and maybe rededicate some time or redo what's going wrong. All right, number 8. Let me see here. Casey, would you like to read question number 8 for us, please?
Take a moment and write a prayer to the Lord, expressing your hearts and making more content.
All right. Well, we can take a moment. You can just be praying to the Lord. You can be talking to the Lord, and you again another personal thing. And of course, brother, we come to Brother John. You memorized Isaiah 40, 29 to 31 for us. So you can come up here and you can recite it for us too. No. No, you would have got to read that again for us. We already talked about it, but Brother John, can you just read Isaiah chapter 40, verses 29 through 31? That's our memory verse for this last lesson.
He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might he increaseth strength. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint.
All right, now you think about this, and I just kind of popped into my head. You think about, there's a lot we talked about here. We talked about, we're all going to, it sounded well, we're all going to become faint. We're all going to get wore out. We're all going to have moments of weakness. But where do we go? Where do we turn to? But we ought to wait upon the Lord and get renewed strength. What do you think about? Think about in these times tonight. You think about an eagle. Anybody ever watch an eagle? What is really cool about eagles?
They soar.
They soar, and they're just so calm. I mean, they're so coordinated. They're just so like effortless, just gliding around. And we think about when we have these moments, then we think about, soar like eagle's wings, man. I mean, just we'll have that calm. We'll be able to continue to move on and not be weary and not be faint. Any other thoughts? Any thoughts that come to your mind, or any way it might have spoke to you or gave you encouragement, or hopefully encouraged you, not discouraged you, right?
The thought of the eagle soaring, like other birds have to flap their wings
Yep.
to fly, and they're exerting their own energy, but
Yep.
the eagle is just resting.
He's
on
gliding.
the-
Yeah.
Right. It's not his own effort,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Right. And he's not struggling. He's not fighting. He's just kind of carrying them like eagle's wings. We think about the way the wind carries eagles. Think about the way our God can carry us and support us. And yes, we have to trust. Yes, we have effort, but we don't have to put that stressful, no peace, worry. It can just be a sweet effort. Okay. That wraps that up. That's all we have for the. No, I'm just kidding. All right, we're gonna get started on our next lesson. Here we go. Lesson number 9. Passion for God, part 2. Embracing personal intimacy with God. And we have another thought. And of course, we had all our definitions from A Passion for God, part 1. And it's the same title, Embracing Personal Intimacy. So you have those all written down. But we have another text we're going to look at here. We're going to look at Joshua 24, verse 15. Joshua 24, verse 15. Jordan, you want to read that for us, please?
Sure. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom ye will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites
studied in part 1. We're going to study, we're going to go through 5 more qualities of a close relationship with God. This lesson we're going to look at transparency, commitment, trust, and oh man, I have it every time. I gotta have Janet pronounce this one.
Exclusivity.
There you go. Thank you. I knew I was gonna have trouble with that one. Exclusivity. There we go. And there's one more, and it's submission. All right. So each of these principles, we're gonna kind of go through them and explain how our relationship with God can be more intimate and more passionate. Guys, this lesson is intended to break preconceived but limited. Oh man, there. Thank you, paradigm. I should have looked that word up. I can't pronounce it. Well, anybody know what a paradigm is? What's a paradigm?
When you have 2 dimes.
Oh, a paradigm. There you go. That's witty. That was good, Jim. That was really good. A paradigm. There you go. Someone, if they could look that up, that'd be a good idea. But a paradigm of walking with God and reveal how God desires to be our heavenly Father. What?
A typical example or pattern of something, a motto.
Okay. All right. Paradigm. That's okay. Let's see here. God desires to be our heavenly Father in a close personal relationship. Through it, we will be able to complete and develop a vibrant, intimate daily walk with God. All right. Okay, so here we go. We ought to challenge ourselves to a closer personal walk with God in ways that maybe we haven't considered, in thoughts and ideas we haven't considered. We hopefully get to understand a better way to get a closer walk, a more personal fellowship with Him. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look here again. We have you ever thought of a word puzzle? We have a few scriptures. I'm going to give you one, Janet. I'll give you Genesis chapter 39, verse 2. Just kind of, you can turn to that and wait. Jordan, I don't know if you have these in your book or not. Are they all in your book? Okay, if they're in your book, then you can just not have to turn to it. We'll just read them. But we have a little word puzzle here, and we're going to find out what the consistency is in each verse. So we'll have Janet, you read the first one, please, which is Genesis 39, verse 2.
And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian.
All right. Okay. So we had the first verse, and I don't know. We got to listen and see if we find something here that's consistent through them all. What do you got here? Can you read the second one for us, Chris?
And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand.
All right. Thank you. And then I don't know, Daryl, can you read in your book? You have Joshua chapter 6, verse 27. Can you read that for us?
So the Lord was with Joshua, and his fame was noticed throughout the country.
All right. Thank you. And then Sister Jen, if you have here 1 Samuel 3:19, please.
Samuel grew, and the Lord was with him, and did let none of his words fall to the ground.
That was good. There's a little emphasis and so that's good, Sister Jen. Thank you. All right, Daniel, what do you have there? If you can read for us, 1 Samuel 18:12.
And Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with him and was departed from Saul.
All right, and one more we're going to read. It's a little different, but has the same thought here. Matthew, can you read for us Matthew, how fitting. Matthew reads Matthew chapter 1, verse 23.
Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which being interpreted is God with us.
All right, so what do we see? Anybody here want to take a stab at, we know Sister Jen's got the answer, so we're going to sit there. Does anybody else want to take a stab? What is common in all these verses?
They all have the word "and."
They all have an and.
They're all in
Yes.
the Bible.
And they're all in the Bible. We got a pattern going here. All right. What else?
The Lord was with.
The Lord was with. Yeah, along with that and, the and is, thankfully, it's not just and, it's and the Lord was with. And the Lord was with each one. All right, that's great. But each of these passages refer to God being with us. And isn't that nice? Wouldn't that be nice to know? And isn't that comforting to know that God is with you? Let me see here. And then think about the life and think about the peace you can have knowing that God is with you. And we think about God being with you. His eye is upon you, and His guiding hand is about you. And we think about what a relationship. I don't know, everybody, and there's some, we think about those here as parents. I thought about this a little bit, and I thought about me as being a parent. And what loving parent here, or what loving parent doesn't have their eye upon their child? I mean, it don't matter. I mean, we're camping. Your eyes upon that child. They're up at that campfire. Where are they? Are they by the water? I mean, your eye is always upon them. You're always watching. I use the illustration of, I saw my daughter Melissa going down the hallway, and I saw her, and I knew she was going to reach for that. This gives away my age a little bit, but it's probably had cool white light bulbs. They had the old-fashioned light bulbs that got hot. And she went down, and I knew she was going to reach it. I saw her going for it, and I was trying to call her, but, well, she didn't listen. But then, now, what do you call that when you get consequential discipline, I guess you call it? She touched that light. I knew she was going to touch it. I didn't want her to touch that light, but, she didn't listen. She didn't understand, and she learned the hard way, and sometimes that's God. God's watching us. He sees us all the time. And God doesn't want to see us get into things, and get hurt. But we need to, He's always watching over us. We need to listen. We need to know His will. So we have here the thought that we think about God also, and we think about God knowing all. What do we call that? God being all knowledge or all wisdom or all knowing. What do we call that?
Omnipotent?
Yeah, or omniscience.
Omniscience.
Omniscience or omniscience, yes. So, of course, you all got scriptures to back that up, right? I wrote a few down. All right, we'll go with that. We got God knows all, God sees all. And that's kind of scary to think about, because not only does He know all, but He knows what's in our minds. He knows what we're thinking. He knows if we're spending quality time with Him, or He knows if we're just doing the checklist, right? Are we just faking it? What do you call that false thing in front of stores? You go to Disney, right? And they got a bunch of pole barns, and they got the fronts all decked out, looking like a castle, looking like something. What do you call those?
Facade.
A facade, yeah. Fake. It's kind of just dresses it up, make it look good, make it look real. Are you looking real, or are you real? These are all things we need to ask ourselves. If you have a personal relationship with God, you can't fake a relationship with someone. You could, I suppose, but eventually it's just gonna fall apart. But we think about God, and we think about a God that knows all. Let's go to, of course, Job here speaking. Job 31:4. Let's go to Job 31:4. I don't even know who's up to read, to be honest with you. I think Daryl, I don't know, I think Chris read last.
I think I read last.
Oh, you read last? Okay, well, oh yeah, that's right, 'cause we got all the questions. So, Brother Jerry, you want to read that for us, then, please? Job 31:4.
Okay. Does not He see my ways and count all my steps?
Yeah, we see here that Job's talking and he's speaking here and he says, man, He sees my ways, He knows my steps, He knows everything that's going on. Now we're going to turn over a few chapters, 34:21. 34 verse 21.
For His eyes are upon the ways of man, and He seeth all his goings.
He doesn't just see some of them. He doesn't see, we see here all. What does all leave out? Anything? If you were gonna let's say you were gonna, there was a bunch of cash in a jar, and you're gonna win it all, and then they just gave you part of it. That's not how it works. It's all. It sees all. And you think about, you'd be a little disappointed if you only got part of it. But we know, I mean, we're looking at this as that God knows all. All right, Psalms, we got the psalmist here. Psalms 147, verse 5. Psalms 147, verse 5. All right. What do we see here? Psalms 147, the psalmist saying in 147, verse 5.
Great is our Lord and great is our Lord of great power. His understanding is infinite.
All right. We got here, we have here, great is our Lord and of great power. His understanding is infinite. When we think about infinite, there's no limit to it. Oh, Hebrews 4:13. John, you want to read that for us? Hebrews 4:13. And again, the thought here is about God as being all-knowing, knowing all.
Hebrews 4:13. Neither is there any creature that is not manifest in his sight, but all things are naked and open unto the eyes of him with whom we have to do.
All right, here we have the thought here. The creature is not manifest. It's not hidden. He sees everything. He knows everything. And we have here the last part of that has the thought. What it comes up with is we have to do and we have to give account. That's the thought of having to give account. It's not just you have to do. I mean, we have to give account. All right, and then one last one. We got 1 John 3:20. 1 John 3:20. And again, talking about God knowing all things here. Casey.
For if our heart condemns us, God is greater than our heart.
God knows all things. And with that in mind, we're thinking about, we're going to think about number 1 in our book, and we'll kind of let you think about it a little bit, and we'll talk about it. Obviously, we'll pick it up next week. But number 1 in our book is a close relationship requires, let's give it in our first one, transparency. So let's take a moment, let's just think about a close relationship requires transparency. And what is transparent? What is something that's transparent? What does that mean? You can see through it, yeah. Yeah, and what else says? If it's transparent, there's something else goes on with that too.
Not hiding anything.
You're not hiding anything, it's open. So we have here the thought with transparency being, it can be seen through, not hidden, open. That can be kind of scary. Think about that, having a relationship that someone knows everything. Sometimes in our personal relationships with people, we kind of hide stuff, can't we? We can keep things kind of, put away. Maybe we can, talk about that false front or that, And there's things, skeleton in your closet, whatever. There's things that people don't know about you. But we think about our relationship with God. We think about being transparent to the point where He knows everything. He knows our thoughts, our motives, our desires, our intentions. What we really did it for, our motives. So anyway, we think about this. Just think about it through the week. And we're gonna pick up here next week when we start out. We'll start with a close relationship requires transparency. And again, that can be kind of scary, and it can the fear of being exposed. Just think of someone, I don't know. Think of someone if everybody knew everything about you. That'd be kind of scary, wouldn't it? If it came up on a projector and everybody saw everything you ever did, or anything, good or bad, whatever. That's pretty scary, ain't it? Anybody here want to be the first one to have their name put up on the wall with their list of to-dos and not to-dos? But there's something there. I'm just gonna be quiet. We're gonna talk about it more next week. So think about that, and we'll pick up here next week. All right, I thank you for the time, and we're gonna take a moment. I'm gonna ask Jordan that you be so kind as to dismiss